Hello everyone, I am Ayush Singh. So this is the dashboard I made using Power BI for our Strava project. So the data set I use for daily activities, daily calories, daily intensities, sleep day, and weight log info. So after loading the initial data set, I did some pre-processing also, like some data transformations, and I created some new measures like average BMI per user, average weight per user. For sleep day, I get the measures like average total time in bed per user, average total minute asleep per user. For daily intensities, I didn't create a different measure, but while transforming the dataset, I created two new columns as medium active distance and medium active minutes by combining the fairly and lightly respectively active distance and minutes. For daily calories, I created average calories per user, and for daily activity merged, I did the same, created the medium active distance and the medium active minutes by using the two columns fairly and lightly for the distance and minutes respectively. And also this our here we can't really see. Let me just see the function I used to create our new. So for getting the average BMI per user, I use this equal average BMI all except using the weight log info ID. We were basically grouping by ID. We did the same for weight. We try to look for the sleep. We'll find a similar thing, a similar kind of function. Usually trying to group by ID for get the insights for each users. Total sleep, med asleep, and total time in bed. Okay, so let's quickly look our dashboards. So visuals for our daily activities. So we see we have 33 users who contributed for this data set. The average distance travel was 5.49 kilometer, and we have now the average calories burned per day. The minimum was 0 and the maximum was 4900, and the average was 2.3 k. So the average calories burned was 2.3 k. The average total steps per day, the minimum we found was 0 k, the maximum was 36 k, and the average was 7.64 k. So this was the average of calories by ID. See, this was our area plot, area chart. So average of calories, these are basically the users. If we try to just go on a single point, we'll see the user ID and the average of calories burned for the entire month by that user. You can see quite a lot of variation here. We like to look, this one looks close to the peak. So okay, the average variation is around 34k. Great. Well, this is the total distance versus activity date. So on the date 5th of May, the total distance travel was 6.22 kilometers. So this is an average for all the users. Okay, so now we have the for the calories. So total of number of unique users we have about 33. The average calories burned per user is 2.3k, and the minimum amount of calories burned was 1.4k, and the max amount of calories burned was 3.44k. So this is the variation of average calories. Okay, so this is the similar 2.3k was average calories per user. Now we have the area chart. So this is the average calories per day. So if we go for a particular date, we can see the calories burned for 2nd of May were 2330 calories. So, and this is the average of the calories by user. We can look for the calories for each users. You can see that here the 3.4k is max, and here we can see that our data is like actually matching. Here we can see the max we have is 3.44k, and here the average calorie for this particular user is 3.4k. Let me just try to check if min is also following the same pattern. Okay, the same min is also working. Great, great. So now let's look for the dashboard for intensity. So the number of users who contributed for the intensity were 33 different users, and the average of very active minutes was 28 minutes. If you look for the variation of average of very active distance, you will find that some were active for only 0 minutes, and few went for around 21 minutes, and the average of 1.5 minutes. If you look for the variation of average for very active minutes, okay, sorry, last one not distance, so it will be in kilometer. This is minutes. So in a minimum was 0, maximum was 210 minutes, and the average was 21 minutes. 10 minutes means it's very intense workout for the person. It will be more than 3 hours. Great. So this is the variation of average of median active distance. Sorry, average of median active distance by activity day. So for each day, we can see the average of median active distance. Weekly average of what? Average of per user. So on date 5th of May, we can see the total average of distance travel is 4.38 kilometer. For 26th of April, we can say 4.19. If you look for lower values, we can see 2.07 kilometer on 12th of May. The highest we found was on 23rd of April, where the average medium distance was 4.68 kilometer. This is the average of medium active distance by activity day, grouped by the obviously the user. So for 23rd of April, we see that the average of medium active distance is 247 minutes. Okay, and this is declining. And if you look for the lower values, we can see on 17th of April. So we can see there is not some kind of pattern for dates. So this kind of very randomized pattern. We can see if you want to find it. For the weight, the number of users we have was 8, and the average weight per user was 72 kg. This was expected because the people mostly who are overweight mostly tend to use or go to such companies to improve their health. The variation of average weight was the average was 72.04 as stated before. The minimum we had was 52.60 kgs, and the maximum was 1.33.5 kgs. Sorry, 133 kgs. And the variation of average BMI was the minimum was 21.45, and the max was 47.54, and the average we found was 25.19, and the average is already overweight. Okay, so this was the average weight by date. From each date we can see was the average weight. Because you can also see that we don't have the data for the entire date, but for entire month for each user. So for few users we only have for few dates, and for a certain user, let's see this user, we have quite a variation. You also you won't find much of the difference between weights, since we only have a month data set, and we did find the same pattern and from the analysis using SQL and pandas. We're not finding any much of a difference in weights, but few other users had definitely shown decline. The max difference we found was around 1.78 kgs, and this is the average BMI by date. This was a similar kind of pattern like the weight. For example, here we can see for the user starting with 45 has the average BMI of 27.21. The starting with 88 is 25.49, and the one starting with 69 is 24.03. So we can check, we can just point to that, point our cursor to that point on the plot, and we can easily see the BMI for that user. Now we have the dashboard for sleep. So the number of users were 24. The average of total minute asleep per user was 419 minutes. Average of total time in bed per user was 458.64 minutes. And the max of average total time in bed 961. So this was the variation of average of total minutes asleep. It went from 58 minutes to 796 minutes, and the average of found was 419 minutes. And this was the variation of total time in bed from the min to max. Minimum was 61 minutes and the maximum was 961 minutes, and the average was, we found it to be 458.64 minutes. This is the variation of total minutes asleep by date. You can see the maximum amount of sleep we found was on 24th April. So this is the average for all the users we have. So total minutes asleep was around 487 minutes, and we saw quite a decline, and the minimum found was 369 minutes. This was the average total time in bed for each user. We have around 24 rows for all the users we have the data set. Okay. Great. So that's it for the PowerBI data analysis part. Thank you.